Do you ever feel like you're running on empty? Like the weight of the world is on your shoulders and you just can't catch a break? Life can be overwhelming. We're constantly bombarded with demands, deadlines, worries, and anxieties. It feels like we're caught in a storm, tossed around by waves of stress, and we're desperately looking for an anchor, a place of calm and safety. I've been there. We all have. We search for rest in so many places: of vacation, a new hobby, a quiet evening, and those things can be good, but they often provide only temporary relief. The underlying current of restlessness remains. So where do we find a rest that truly lasts? A peace that isn't dependent on our circumstances? Today, I want to talk about finding a deep, soul-level rest that's available to every single one of us. It's a rest found not in a change of scenery, but in a change of focus. It's the rest that comes from anchoring our hearts in the promises of God. In the book of Hebrews, it says, "So then, there remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God." This isn't just talking about a day of the week. It is talking about a state of being, a place of complete trust and peace that we can enter into right now. It's about ceasing from our own striving, our own worrying, our own attempts to control everything, and learning to lean completely on Him. Let's be honest, that sounds great, but how do we actually do it? How do we move from feeling overwhelmed to feeling at rest? It starts by knowing what God has actually promised us. His promises are like life rafts in a stormy sea. They are solid, unchanging truths we can cling to when everything else feels uncertain. Let's look at a few of these promises together. First, there's the promise of His presence. How many times do we feel utterly alone in our struggles? It feels like no one understands, like we're the only one going through this. But God says in Isaiah 41:10, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God." Think about that. The Creator of the universe, the one who holds all things together, promises to be with you. Not just watching from a distance, but right there in the trenches with you. In your moments of fear, He is with you. In your moments of confusion, He is with you. You are never, ever alone. When anxiety starts to creep in, we can actively remind ourselves of this promise. We can say, "God, you promised you are with me right now. I choose to believe that and rest in your presence." It is a conscious decision to shift our focus from the feeling of loneliness to the truth of His nearness. Next, let's talk about the promise of His strength. We often feel weak, incapable, and just not enough. We look at the challenges ahead and think, "I can't do this." And the truth is, in our own strength, maybe we can't. But the good news is, we don't have to rely on our own strength. God's promise in 2 Corinthians 12:9 is revolutionary. He says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Our weakness isn't a liability. It's an opportunity for God's power to be displayed. When we feel at our weakest, that's when His strength can shine the brightest in our lives. So instead of being frustrated by our limitations, we can see them as an invitation to rely on Him. We can pray, "Lord, I am weak today. I feel like I have nothing left to give, but I trust in your promise. Please be my strength." Resting in this promise means we stop trying to be superhuman and allow God to be our supernatural source of power. It's a huge relief to know we don't have to have it all together. Another powerful promise to anchor ourselves in is the promise of His provision. So much of our anxiety comes from worrying about the future. Will I have enough money? Will I be able to provide for my family? What if I lose my job? These are real concerns. But Jesus addresses this directly in Matthew 6. He points to the birds and the flowers and reminds us how much our Heavenly Father cares for them. And then He says, "Are you not much more valuable than they?" He concludes with this incredible promise, "But seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." God promises to provide for our needs. This doesn't mean we'll get everything we want, or that we should be irresponsible. It means that as we prioritize Him, as we put our trust in Him, He will take care of us. We can rest from the frantic worrying about our daily needs, trusting that our provider is faithful. When financial anxiety hits, we can hold on to this promise and choose trust over fear. And what about the promise of peace? This is what we're all looking for, isn't it? That inner calm that isn't shaken by the world around us. In John 14:27, Jesus gives us this beautiful promise, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you, I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." Notice he says my peace. This isn't the world's version of peace, which is usually just the absence of conflict. This is a divine, supernatural peace that comes from being connected to Him. It's a peace that can coexist with trials. It's a peace that guards our hearts and minds. When our thoughts are racing and our emotions are in turmoil, we can come to Him and claim this promise. We can say, Jesus, you promised me your peace. I receive it now, calm my troubled heart. Resting in this promise is like finding shelter in the eye of a hurricane. The storm may still be raging around you, but in your heart, there is a profound and unshakable calm. So, how do we make this practical? It's one thing to know these promises, but it's another to live in the rest they provide. It's a daily, moment-by-moment practice. First, we have to immerse ourselves in His Word. We can't claim promises we don't know. Spend time each day reading the Bible. When you find a promise that speaks to you, write it down. Put it on your mirror, on your desk, on your phone's lock screen. Keep these truths in front of you. Second, turn these promises into prayers. When you feel anxious, find a promise about God's peace and pray it back to Him. Thank Him for it. This actively engages your faith and shifts your focus. Third, share these promises with others. When you encourage someone else with a promise from God, it reinforces that truth in your own heart as well. It builds a community of rest and trust. Living in the rest of God's promises is a journey, not a one-time event. There will be days when it feels harder, when the storms feel stronger, but the anchor holds. God's promises are not based on our feelings or our circumstances. They are based on His unchanging character. He is faithful, He is trustworthy, He is good. The invitation is always open for us to cease our striving, to let go of our burdens, and to enter into His rest. It's a rest that doesn't just refresh our bodies, but restores our souls. It's the rest that comes from knowing we are held, we are loved, and we are secure in the hands of a God who keeps His promises. So today, whatever you're facing, I encourage you to find a promise from God and hold on to it. Let it be the anchor for your soul. Let go of the need to control, to strive, to worry, and step into the deep, abiding rest that He so freely offers. Thank you so much for watching. If this message encouraged you, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content like this. I'd love to hear in the comments which of God's promises you are holding on to today. Let's encourage one another. See you in the next video.